I, 32M, was supposed to get married last weekend to my fiancée, 29F, of 3 years. We'd been together for 5 years total, living together for most of it, and I genuinely believed our relationship was solid. She went to Miami for her Bachelorette party with 7 of her friends 2 weekends before the wedding. I wasn't concerned. I trusted her. I even dropped her off at the airport, kissed her goodbye, and told her to have fun. While she was gone, I finalized some wedding details, hung out with friends, and picked up my tux. Everything felt normal. She texted me throughout her trip, saying she missed me and was having a great time. She came home that Sunday night looking exhausted but happy, said it had been a blast, and that she was glad to be back. Then, 3 days before the wedding, I got a text from an unknown number. It said I should see what my fiancée did in Miami, that she wasn't who I thought she was. There was a video attached. I almost deleted it, assuming it was spam, but curiosity got the better of me. I watched it. What I saw broke me. Julia was in a hotel room with 2 men. She was fully engaged, laughing, participating, encouraging them. At one point, she looked at the camera and joked, "What happens in Miami stays in Miami, right?" Then laughed. That 3-minute, 42-second video shattered everything I thought we had. I felt sick. I didn't confront her that night. I just said I wasn't feeling well and slept in the spare room. The next morning, while she was out at her final dress fitting, I called my best man and showed him the video. He was just as shocked. I told him I wasn't getting married. That day, I started packing my essentials while she was out again. I left a note that simply said, "I know what happened in Miami. The wedding is off." I left my key and the ring on top of it and moved into my best man's place. I turned off my phone. I couldn't face the chaos I knew would come. When I turned my phone back on what would have been our wedding day, I had 47 missed calls and over 60 texts. Julia's messages went from confused to panicked to apologetic to angry to desperate. Her parents called too, first furious, then confused when they heard what had happened. I sent out a message to our wedding guests. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding has been canceled. I apologize for the inconvenience. Then I texted Julia. There's nothing to discuss. It's over. In the days that followed, I started separating our lives. I blocked her on everything, though she kept trying to reach me. She claimed it was a drunken mistake, said she didn't mean anything by it, that she was pressured by friends. But I saw the video. She wasn't that drunk. She made those choices. Her cousin, who wasn't at the party, reached out and told me Julia was a wreck, crying constantly, barely eating. I didn't care. Maybe I should have confronted her in person, but I couldn't look at her the same. I found out later that the person who sent the video was the girlfriend of one of the men Julia hooked up with. He'd been bragging, and she found the video on his phone. Through some social media digging, she figured out who Julia was and sent to me anonymously. I'm grateful she did. Julia showed up at my new apartment one day, sobbing in the hallway. I let her in, mostly to avoid more scenes. She repeated the same things. She was drunk. It didn't mean anything. She loved me. Then came the real story. Her friends had encouraged her to have one last fling. The 2 guys weren't random. They'd been with the group the whole weekend. She eventually admitted she had made out with one of them the night before. It wasn't just one mistake. It was planned, deliberate, and repeated. Some of her bridesmaids even filmed it. Women I considered friends, who were supposed to stand beside us on our wedding day. When I pointed that out, she got defensive, said it was normal to have a final fling before marriage. That's when I lost it. Normal? Betraying someone you claim to love isn't normal. She tried to guilt me, said if I truly loved her, I'd forgive her. I laughed in disbelief. If she loved me, she wouldn't have done what she did. As she left, she said something chilling. You'll regret throwing away everything over one mistake. It didn't sound like regret. It sounded like a threat. Sure enough, she started telling people I was controlling and emotionally abusive. A few of our mutual friends are actually taking her side, saying I should have given her a chance to explain. I refuse. She's also demanding I pay her back for my half of the wedding costs, saying I canceled. I'm not paying for a wedding that didn't happen because she cheated. I talked to a lawyer about the finances and the house we were supposed to close on after the honeymoon. Thankfully, we hadn't signed yet. The lawyer says I'm likely in the clear, but it's still messy. On the bright side, I found out who my real friends are. Tony and a few others have stood by me, while others revealed who they really are. Emotionally, I'm a mess. One moment, I'm furious. The next, I'm heartbroken. I've started therapy, it's helping, but I still get flashbacks of the video and feel physically ill. I've been asked if I'd release the video to defend myself. Never. I'm not going to stoop to that level. I never want to see it again. For now, I'm trying to heal, working out, seeing friends, blocking Julia and her drama wherever it pops up. I've told people not to bring her up. I don't know if this pain will ever fully go away, but at least I didn't marry someone who could betray me like that. A month later, things escalated. Julia had what her sister described as a breakdown and ended up in the hospital for depression and anxiety. Her family blames me, saying I push her there by refusing to reconcile. They've been harassing me with messages and calls, calling me heartless. I do feel bad she's suffering, but I didn't cause this. She did. She made her choices. Now she's living with the consequences. I'm not responsible for her guilt, her pain, or her breakdown. I've got enough of my own to deal with. This is the wild part. Those two guys from Miami, turns out one of them is married. His wife found out, not sure if it was from a video or some other way, and now she's divorcing him. Somehow, in her anger, she got my number and called me. We talked for almost 2 hours, both of us processing our respective betrayals. There's something uniquely bonding about going through the same specific type of pain at the same time. We're meeting for coffee next week just to talk more. Not a date. Just two people helping each other through a shitty situation. The financial fallout continues. Julia's father showed up at my office, caused a scene in front of my coworkers, and demanded I take responsibility for the wedding costs. Security had to escort him out. My boss was understanding, but it was humiliating. I've had to hire a lawyer to deal with all the financial disputes. We had a joint account with about $31,000 saved for the wedding, honeymoon, and a house down payment. When I left, I only took half, despite having contributed more. Now Julia is claiming I stole from her by taking that money without discussing it first. The lawyer says I'm in the right, but it's still a hassle. The social fallout has been just as messy. Julia's bridesmaids have been running a smear campaign against me. They're spreading a twisted version of events where I'm supposedly a monster who abandoned my fiancée over one drunken kiss. They conveniently leave out the threesome part. When confronted with the truth, they claim I'm slut-shaming and say what happens at a bachelorette party is supposed to stay there. Some people are buying it. I've lost friends. People who either believe her version or think I should be the bigger person and forgive her. It's infuriating. The worst was when her cousin, the one who initially reached out to me, posted on social media about how devastated Julia is and how I threw away a beautiful relationship over one mistake instead of working through it like a real man would. That mistake was ing 2 guys on camera a week before our wedding. But sure, I'm the bad guy for having self-respect. In better news, I've been focusing on my own healing. The therapist is helping. I've started a new workout routine and reconnected with old friends I drifted from during my relationship with Julia. I'm even planning a solo trip. I'm taking 2 weeks off work to go hiking in Colorado. I need the time away to clear my head. I've also been going through our apartment, packing up Julia's things. She still hasn't collected most of her stuff. Every time I find something of hers, a sweater, a book, her favorite coffee mug, it's like a small stab in the heart. We had 5 years together. Despite how it ended, those weren't all bad years. There were good memories too, and that's part of what makes this so painful. The person I loved and trusted never really existed. A friend suggested I dodged a bullet, that if she did this before we were married, she'd likely have cheated during our marriage too. They're probably right, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. I still feel like an idiot for not seeing it coming. I've been racking my brain trying to remember any hints, any red flags I missed, but I can't think of any. She seemed as invested in our future as I was. I've been asked if I regret not confronting her directly instead of leaving. I don't. Those first few days after seeing the video, I was in shock. I couldn't process what I was feeling, let alone articulate it. If I had tried to have that conversation then, I might have said or done something I regret. Leaving gave me the space I needed to think clearly. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are better than others. Sometimes I still wake up and, for a split second, forget what happened. Then reality crashes back, and the pain feels fresh again. But it's getting easier, slowly, but it is. 3 months later, I wasn't planning to update again. But after everything that's happened, I felt I needed to. First, the coffee with the other guy's wife, Valerie. We ended up meeting several times. There was definitely a connection, but we both recognized it was probably trauma bonding rather than genuine romantic interest. We decided to keep things platonic, at least for now. We're both still processing our respective betrayals, and jumping into something new would just complicate that healing process. Still, it's nice having someone who truly understands what I'm going through. Now, for the bombshell, Julia is pregnant. She showed up at my door last week, clearly claiming it's mine. According to her, she's about 4 months along, which would put conception right around the time of her bachelorette party. My first thought was that it must be one of the Miami guys, but she swears we had sex the night before she left for her trip, and the timing lines up with that, not the bachelorette weekend. Honestly, I don't remember if we did or didn't. That week is a blur of wedding prep. I told her I want a paternity test as soon as medically possible. She got angry, said I was adding insult to injury by questioning if it's mine. I stood firm. There's no way I'm accepting responsibility without proof, especially given her history of dishonesty. This revelation has thrown me back into emotional turmoil. I thought I was moving past. The idea of potentially having a child with Julia, of being connected to her for the rest of my life, it's daunting. I've always wanted kids, but not like this, not with someone I can't trust. On the other hand, if it is my child, I want to be involved. I don't want my kid growing up thinking their father abandoned them. I just don't know how to co-parent with someone who betrayed me so thoroughly. Julia seems to think this pregnancy changes everything, that I'll take her back now that there's a baby involved. She actually suggested we try again for the sake of the child. I told her that's never happening. The relationship is over, regardless of the paternity results. This led to another round of her family harassing me, calling me a deadbeat before the child is even born. They're conveniently ignoring the fact that I'm willing to take responsibility if the child is mine. I just want verification first. The financial disputes are finally resolved. We reached a settlement where neither of us is fully happy, but at least it's done. I had to pay more than I wanted to for some of the wedding costs, but less than Julia was demanding. The house fell through, which is for the best. I found a new apartment I actually like better than the one we were planning to buy. The social fallout continues. Julia's bridesmaids are still spreading their version of events, but fewer people are buying it now. The truth has a way of coming out. Some mutual friends who initially sided with her have reached out to apologize after hearing the full story from others who were at the bachelorette party. Apparently, not everyone there approved of what happened, and they're finally speaking up. One of the bridesmaids, Lexi, actually called me to apologize. She admitted she was the one who filmed the video and said she regrets her role in encouraging Julia. According to Lexi, there was a lot of cocaine involved that weekend, which Julia never mentioned, and things got out of control. Not that it excuses anything, but it adds another layer to the story. Lexi also confirmed something I suspected. This wasn't Julia's first time cheating. Apparently, there was an incident about 2 years ago with a co-worker that Julia's friends helped cover up. That was devastating to learn, but also validating. I've been questioning my decision to end things so definitively, wondering if I overreacted to one mistake. Knowing it was a pattern, not an isolated event, reaffirmed that I made the right choice. As for me, I'm doing better. Therapy is working. The solo trip to Colorado was exactly what I needed. Time in nature, away from all the drama, to reconnect with myself. I've been throwing myself into work and hobbies. I've even started dating casually, though nothing serious yet. It's too soon for that. The hardest part now is the uncertainty about the pregnancy. If the baby is mine, my life's about to change dramatically. If it's not, I'll be relieved, but I'll still feel terrible for the child who will grow up with this mess. Either way, it's a complicated situation. For now, I'm preparing for paternity test and trying to stay focused on healing. 6 months later, the paternity test results came back. The baby is mine. I can't say I'm surprised, but there was a mix of emotions when I found out. Relief primarily, but also a strange sense of loss for a future that was never going to be mine. Part of me had started preparing mentally for fatherhood, despite all my reservations. Julia's reaction was extreme. She broke down completely when the results were revealed. Through her tears, she admitted she'd been hoping the baby was mine because she thought it might bring us back together. She also confessed she'd suspected it might be one of the Miami guys, but convinced herself it was mine because the alternative was too painful to consider. I almost felt sorry for her in that moment. Almost. Then I remembered the months of lies, manipulation, and harassment from her and her family. How they tried to guilt and shame me into taking responsibility for a child that wasn't mine. How they called me a deadbeat and a coward. When I confronted her about Lexi's revelation regarding the previous cheating incident, Julia initially denied it. Then she broke down and admitted it was true. There had been a one-night stand with a co-worker after a company party 2 years ago. She swore it was a drunken mistake and didn't count because it was just physical. She never told me because she didn't want to hurt me over something that meant nothing. I asked her if there were others. She hesitated, then admitted yes. There had been another incident about a year into our relationship. Another mistake she kept from me. So the woman I thought I'd spend my life with had cheated on me at least 3 times that I know of. Who knows how many more there might have been. Things even her friends didn't know about. The irony is, if she had come clean about those earlier incidents when they happened, maybe we could have worked through them. But she didn't. And now it's all too late. The repeated pattern of deception followed by the ultimate betrayal right before our wedding made reconciliation impossible. Any trust that once existed between us has been completely shattered. As for the baby's actual father, Julia admitted she reached out to both of the guys from Miami when she found out she was pregnant. One blocked her immediately. The other, the married one, is in the middle of his divorce and wants nothing to do with the child. Valerie, his soon-to-be ex-wife. Fill me in on some of the drama. Apparently, he's trying to claim the encounter was consensual but not his idea, and that he was too drunk to use protection properly. No one's by his excuses. Julia is now facing single motherhood with 2 potential fathers who want nothing to do with her or the baby. Her family, who were so quick to condemn me, are now scrambling to support her through this new crisis. Her father, who once caused a scene at my office demanding I take responsibility, now avoids eye contact when we happen to cross paths. The social consequences for Julia have been severe. Many of her friends have distanced themselves as the full truth has come out. Her career has suffered too. She took extended leave due to mental health struggles and pregnancy complications, and I heard she was passed over for a promotion she had been in line for. Some people say I should feel vindicated by all this, but I don't. I just feel sad. Sad for the years I invested in someone who could betray me so easily. Sad for the future we planned that will never happen. Sad for the child who's being born into this complicated situation. But mostly I feel relief. Relief that I found out who Julia really was before we got married. Relief that I'm not tied to her through a child. Relief that I can finally close this chapter and move forward without her shadow hanging over me. As for me, I'm doing well. The new apartment feels like home. Work is good. I actually got a promotion last month. I've reconnected with old friends and made new ones. I've even started seeing someone. Nothing serious yet, but promising. She knows my history and understands I'm taking things slowly. Therapy continues to be helpful. I've worked through a lot of the trust issues that stem from Julia's betrayal. I'm not letting her actions define how I approach future relationships. The financial disputes are fully resolved. The legal bills weren't cheap, but the peace of mind was worth it. Julia finally collected the last of her things from storage last week, so there are no more logistical ties between us. Valerie and I still meet occasionally. We've developed a genuine friendship out of our shared experience. She's dating someone new and seems happy. We joke sometimes about how we should thank our exes for introducing us to each other in their own terrible way. I think this will be my final update. The story is essentially over. Julia made her choices, and now she's living with the consequences. I've made peace with what happened, and I'm focused on building a new life. In a strange way, I'm grateful for that anonymous text with the video. Without it, I might be married to Julia now, unaware of her true character, maybe even raising another man's child as my own. Instead, I'm free to find real happiness with someone worthy of trust. For those going through something similar, it gets better. The pain doesn't disappear completely, but it fades. Life goes on, and sometimes the worst betrayals lead to unexpected new beginnings. I wasn't planning on posting again, but something happened that I thought provided proper closure to this whole saga, and several people messaged asking for an update. So here it is. Life has been good. Great. Actually, the promotion I mentioned came with a significant raise. I've used some of that money to travel, something I always want to do more but never prioritized when I was with Julia. I've been to Japan, Portugal, and spent a month working remotely from Argentina. The experiences have been incredible and healing in ways I didn't expect. The woman I mentioned dating before, her name is Melissa. Things got serious quickly, which wasn't my plan, but sometimes life doesn't follow plans, as I've clearly learned. She's everything Julia wasn't: honest, direct, supportive without being enabling. We've been together for 8 months now, and I've never felt more secure in a relationship. She knows my whole story and has been patient with the trust issues I'm still working through. I'd managed to avoid any direct contact with Julia for months. I'd hear occasional updates through mutual friends, despite asking them not to tell me. But that was it. I knew she had the baby, a boy, and was struggling with single motherhood. Her parents were helping a lot. Apparently, one of the Miami guys eventually agreed to a paternity test and was confirmed as the father, but he's still refusing any involvement beyond minimum court-ordered child support. I thought our paths would never cross again. Then last week, I ran into her at a coffee shop downtown. I almost didn't recognize her at first. She looked completely different. Thinner, tired, her hair cut short. The confident, vibrant woman I had once loved was gone, replaced by someone who seemed beaten down by life. She was alone, no baby with her. She spotted me before I could leave, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. Then she asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed to sit with her for a few minutes. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "I'm sorry, not just for what I did, but for how I handled everything after. You deserve better. I was selfish and stupid, and I destroyed the best thing in my life." It wasn't the apology I expected, but it felt genuine. She didn't try to justify her actions or blame alcohol or her friends. She just took responsibility. She told me about her life now, the struggles of single parenthood, the judgment she still faces from people who know what happened, the loss of friends and respect. Her parents are selling their house to move closer and help with the baby. Her career is back on track, but barely. She's in therapy, too, trying to understand why she sabotaged her own happiness. The worst part, she said, is knowing that she hurt someone who truly loved her. "I don't expect your forgiveness," she said, "but I need you to know I regret what I did every single day." I didn't say much in response. What could I say? The anger I once felt had faded long ago, replaced by indifference and a vague sadness for what might have been. I told her I appreciated her apology and wished her well with her son. As I got up to leave, she asked one last question. "Are you happy?" I thought about Melissa, about my job, my travels, my friends, the life I built in the aftermath of destruction. "Yes," I said, "I am." She nodded and gave me a sad smile. "Good. You deserve to be." That 5-minute conversation gave me more closure than all the therapy sessions combined. It wasn't that I needed her apology. I'd moved on long before receiving it. But there was something powerful about seeing her acknowledge the reality of what she'd done and its consequences. Walking away from that coffee shop, I felt the last lingering weight lift from my shoulders. There's no anger anymore, No resentment. Not even pity, just a calm acceptance that sometimes people make choices that irrevocably change the course of their lives. And all we can do is adapt and move forward. 2 nights ago, sitting on a balcony watching the sunset with Melissa, I realized something. I'm grateful for what happened. Not because Julia deserved the fallout or because I take pleasure in her struggles, but because that painful episode freed me to find genuine happiness. In trying to destroy me, she inadvertently set me free. So that's it. The final chapter in a story I never expected to be part of. For those who followed along and offered support, thank you. For those going through something similar, hang in there. The pain passes, and sometimes what waits on the other side is better than what you lost. Life goes on, and sometimes life gets better in ways you never could have imagined.